YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel, and this is Packs and Meta. Today's deck that we're going to be talking about is Floowandereeze. Now, this might be a shock to most of the people, but Floowandereeze is actually tier 2 in the current meta with the tier elements. And by far, it is somewhat of a good counter to tier elements. The downside about this is, well, let's talk about the deck first. Let's go towards the deck profile. Alright, so talking about the deck profile, it's more on banishing a ton of cards from your opponent's side of the field. With the help of Eclipse, allows you to disjoint or avoid some targets with if ever your Floowandereeze card are being targeted for an imperm or an effect baiter. You can just flip them face down and then still use the effect. Other than that, your Banish or Dimensional Fissure is one of those good cards that you can depend on if ever you're going up against a tier elements deck or a graveyard dependent deck. Evenly match, if you're going second, then you can go for an evenly match, just even out the playing field. One copy of Macrocosmos. Now you can go for an additional copy of DD Crow if you want. Having just one copy of Macrocosmos is fair enough to be added into the deck. Monsters or monster wise, you have your Rubina, 3 copies of that. The Iglin, very important. These are your bread and butter for the deck basically. 2 copies of Stree, like any other Floowandereeze deck it should have. And 1 copy of Tuckan. 2 copies of Shifter. Doesn't really matter if you're going with 3 copies before, but now even on 2 copies you still manage to draw into this card, which is really good. Level 5 or higher monster, you have one of your Mist Valley Apex Evian, really good for a negate. 2 copies of Ryza the Mega Monarch. Now if you're going up against tier elements deck, now you might be wondering why 2 copies of Ryza. Having to bounce back cards from the field on a tier elements deck is really good for to counter them. So having 2 copies of Ryza is just good, very fair, very useful. 2 copies of M-Pen. By the way, you can go with 1 M-Pen and 1 copy of, what's the other card by the way? You can go with the other copy of Snow, but I think M-Pen is much better because any spell summon on an attack position can't use its effect, and by far I'll showcase one of the replays where my opponent somewhat summons them in attack position. But yeah, anyways, that it's your monster composition, your spell and traps. Talking about the elephant in the room, Magnificent Map down to 1 copy was actually detrimental for the deck. It is harder to play with 1 map in general, and if ever this card will be removed, it's really hard to actually play through a normal Floowandereeze board. But even so, with or without the map, you can still play through a good board anyways. But yeah, if every map is on the field, your chances of winning will be skyrocketed. So that's basically it. 1 copy of the Unexplored Winds, and typically your Dreaming Town, the typical Floowandereeze deck. The additional for this spell and traps is just 1 copy of Jack in the Hand. Just automatically searches out any level 1 that you might need. Whether or not it is an M-Pen, a Stree, or a Rubina, it doesn't really matter. And then 1 copy of Advent of the Adventure. Now, some of you might be questioning why 1 copy. Well, basically, 2 or 3 is okay. You can go with more than 40 cards if you wish. Having 1 copy of Advent of the Adventure is really fine. I had a ton of consistency, or there's a good consistency with the deck with 1 copy of Advent of the Adventure, and you can just try it out if you wish or if you want. But yeah, having 1 copy for me got me a lot of consistent plays with just my monsters showing up most of the time. What else? That's basically it. Extra deck wise, you don't need that much for an extra deck, but I do prefer, if you're going with an extra deck monster, go for the level 1 Exe monsters. Typically, Lyrilis is one of your go-to Exe cards or Exe monsters that you can actually use on a Floowandereeze deck. But even so, you'll just have to use the extra deck for your Extravagance or even a Prosperity. So it's either one of those choices that you need. But yeah, I just prefer them for my Extravagance or my Prosperity. But yeah, that is the deck profile, guys. Let's move towards some of the replays. Now, these replays are not typically the best of replays because it's just testing out the Floowandereeze deck in Diamond and against a Tier Elements deck. Let's go towards the replays, and I'll see you guys in the outro. Alright guys, so first replay, we have only 3 replays for you guys today, just to showcase off a quick play style on how this deck actually works with or without Tier Elements on the Diamond field. But yeah, most of the time you're going up against Tier Elements, most of the time you're not, so it's really differs from time to time. But yeah, our opponent's going first. We have Shifter, 2 Dualities, 1 Extravagance, and 1 Evening Match. A really good Evening Match is all you need, actually. So our opponent's going for Void Apocalypse. Now this was actually a misplay on my part because I was actually trigger happy. So yeah, should have actually sent more cards or let him send more cards to the graveyard, then use the effect of the Shifter. Needless to say, it's fine. During our turn, go for Extravagance, get a copy of Ryza and another copy of a stupid Extravagance. Go for Duality, get a copy of Rubina. Now basically, like I said earlier, if ever we get Impermed, then you'll have a copy of Eclipse for that matter to help you out. So the typical Floowandereeze playstyle is going to be used here. Now, since, like I said earlier, it is hard to draw into a copy of map, you can go for a terraforming, but it will exceed you 40 cards. So just preferably either go for another terraforming, go for a 41 deck. Other than that, it's perfectly fine if you're going up against a 40 cards. But yeah, terraforming is a really good card to have in this lineup. But needless to say, it's okay. Our opponent is searching out some of the cards that he'll need. So I think he's going for a rank 3 play here because he's summoning a level 3 monster. So might as well just gonna use our Dreaming Town here. Now, personally, I don't really know about this deck or what he's doing, but yeah, this is the typical play for Floowandereeze. And most of the time that I've actually played Floowandereeze, people are just scooping because of it. Otherwise, you're going up against a Tier Elements, so it's gonna be a long game. But yeah, I'll have one replay for you guys against a Tier Elements. Alright, so second game guys, like I said earlier, we are still going second, and that's most of the time or most of the things that will happen in a Diamond play. Now typically if you drop a copy of Shifter and you're going up against a Tier Elements deck, most of the time or some of the time they're gonna scoop immediately. But otherwise, you're still gonna play through the whole thing. So that is why we have evenly matched if you're going second. So our opponent's going first. I think this is a Sprite deck, so having a number Deep Sea Diva on the field is one of those cases, or maybe a Runic, but I don't think Runic will be playable at the current meta. There it goes. We'll summon Deep Sea Diva and go for Gigantic Sprite. Gigantic Sprite is going to be activated. So we'll summon copy of Red, 3 back rows, and that's basically it. On our turn, basically, that I think our guy scooped here, but yeah, let's go for Extravagance first just to draw out cards. Then battle phase, main phase 2, bada bing bada boom. So most of the cards that are in your arsenal is really a good starter or really a good board breaker per se. But yeah, deck wise, it's gonna be long. Alright, so game number 3 and last game guys. So this is not actually a scoop. I managed to pull out the game against a Tier Elements deck. Our opponent's going first, so that's gonna be bad for us, and we don't have the best of hand, but we have Jack in the hand, which is a really good addition to our hand. Prosperity and 1 Unexplored Wind is somewhat okay in a sense. The Macrocosmos it was really good if we are going first, but otherwise, yeah, things happen. We always go second. So this is just a quick rundown on how to play the deck, and by far in Diamond we're going up against a ton of decks that works the same or similarly to this. So the typical I think this is an Ice Jade Tier Elements deck. Basically, Tier Elements nowadays are splashable to any type of deck that allows you to fusion summon. There we go. Let me just fast forward this, guys, because I think it's more than quite number of turns. I mean, I think it's just 7 turns, if I'm not mistaken. So like I said, Ice Jade deck with the tier elements. Really fascinating for a deck. So that's it. Our opponent has a really good board, and then one shuffler. So yeah. Priority first. Opponent is gonna drop a copy of Kelbeck. He's gonna mill us some cards. Got a copy of that. Let's see here. So my thought process here is what cards that I should actually get. So Ravina doesn't really matter here. We can just get that one from the copy of Jack in the Hand. Extravagance done with the main phase anyway. So my best choice here is for the Eclipse, which what we got. Galbeck's gonna mill a ton of cards. So let's see what he actually milled here. And like I said earlier, guys, against a tier elements deck, it's gonna be a long game. Managed to mill a copy of Rhino Heart. So him not activating it means that he doesn't have a tier element monster. I think that was Ishizu card he has in his hand. Unexplored Wind is gonna be activated. Normal summoning Rubina. Getting a copy of Crow. Normal summoning Eaglin. Then use the effect of the Unexplored Winds to tribute one of the back rows. Now that wasn't the best of choice that I have, but yeah, that is actually bad on my part. So these are a couple of misplays that I actually have, and basically it downpours to the right target if you're going up against a tier element. Going up against a tier elements deck. So at this point on, I don't really know what Ice Jade really does. So basically, just removing some cards is one of my go-to plan here. But if you ever know, but if you like this type of deck profile, you can just use it anyway. And here's the downfall of this deck, basically. So the Chimera on the field actually dealt us some trouble, which yeah, killed off my map and a copy of Cosmos. That's oh yeah, by the way, this is actually a loss on my part, but I just want to showcase to you guys this deck against a tier elements deck. Although this is not actually the best of build, but yeah, this is tier elements. And remember what I told you earlier, that my opponent just spell summoned monsters in attack position. Well, this is one of the games actually. I don't know if he actually played Floowandereeze, but yeah. So let's fast forward this for a bit. There we go. Sharon. Fuse into a Kit Callus. Kit Callus is on attack position, so he doesn't use the effect. Anemone on attack, no effect. Sprite Elf on attack. Go for battle. Now this was actually bad on my part because I actually used the effect of Eaglin twice. So I just want to showcase you guys what will happen. So the chances of me getting a Floowandereeze card during my turn is so slim because first and foremost, I was milled a ton of cards. So that is 2 Rubinas was milled and one copy of Eaglin, to be honest. So what are the chances of getting another Floowandereeze monster from my deck? Well, let's see. That's basically it. If there was one chance that I could get a copy of Floowandereeze card or a Floowandereeze card, then it would actually benefit me, but otherwise it's gonna be harder. So you have to play the deck a little bit better, unlike my kind of play style. But yeah, like I said earlier, this is one of the downsides for having a Floowandereeze deck. There will be some time that you will be on a bricky hand. So like I said, and yeah, having more than 5 level 5s or more than 3 level 5s in your main deck is really hard. So at this point on, we're just letting our opponent finish us off, basically. There we go. I'm just gonna fast forward this dice. There's not much that I can show you. So typically, I just let him do some damage, and that's basically it. I can't do anything else. Even withdrawing into a copy of Extravagance wasn't really enough because we were just negated by the Ice Shade card, and that's basically it. And yeah, that's game. So those were the replays, and this is the deck profile, guys. Hope you enjoy this kind of content. Like and subscribe for more content like this in the near future. And yeah, we'll be showcasing Adamant Speeders and Melty Sprites in the near future. That's me signing off. Keep safe, good luck, and have a good night. Bye-bye.